The idea behind the show is simply asking guests what they would tell a stranger on a plane if they were sitting next to them and the stranger asked them for advice.
The scenery is passing very fast, but the seer is constant. The one who's seeing is the same.
Let me appreciate you for asking a question that I haven't been asked after 2,500 or so interviews over the years.
Is you have to drop the ego, which is everyone's greatest obstacle.
In 2008, Grant and I had been married for 4 years. I was pregnant with my first child. The economy was collapsing, and we were on the verge of losing everything financially.
So it's so great to be here with Blake Dyer. I met Blake a number of years ago at a conference, and Blake, I've been kind of from afar. I've seen a bit of your journey since then. So Blake, where I'd like to start, and I will say because it's a shorter type show, we usually start with some, I'll say bigger questions, not as, what's the word people use, not as fluffy of questions. So it's, I don't have the leading questions that are really soft. So this one is about legacy, this idea of this word legacy, which is for so many people, it's I guess we'll say they define it differently. But Blake, I hear people say that legacy to them is every day what you choose to do is dictating your legacy. And I hear other people say that my legacy will simply be decided behind my back or after I'm gone. So out of all that, I'd love to get your thoughts. What does legacy mean to you?
Well, I guess legacy just means, to me, I guess following your joy, because it is, I would say, yeah, sure, it is kind of, I mean, there's two kind of frame of thoughts that you have given me. You've got like, your life is and your legacy are in your hands, or your life and your legacy are in somebody else's hands, and I think we all kind of go through these, I don't know, every day. Sometimes it's different, it's like, oh, screw it, my life is in somebody else's hands today. I don't want to do anything, but I would say, yeah, I mean, I'd say it's about doing what you love, and if you're in passion with what you do, whether it's a bus driver or the president of the world, it's like if you are doing that with love and passion, and then you're going to leave a legacy on people. You're going to leave an imprint on people, the people that you affect, whether it's and if it's switched around and they don't want to do what, the president is driving a bus and is miserable, then he's not going to leave such a great legacy.
Yeah.
So,
no, I love that perspective. That's awesome. Well, and I know we were talking just really briefly off air about your new business venture. And so, I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about that. And then also maybe as an add-on to that, because of course I'll throw another big question at you. How do you define success? So, maybe this is a good timing, of course, because newer into a business, I'm sure success means perhaps something different to you than it might have 5 years ago. So can you tell us a bit about the business? And then, like I say, as a follow-up, what does success mean to you?
Sure thing. So I just started Sunnyside Expeditions, which is my tour business to Indigenous cultures around the world. We visit First Nations people and learn how to about their relationship with the earth and the land, and I'm looking. I look mostly for. I mean, I was gonna say, like, I look for cultures that haven't completely lost their culture. Having said that, I think I have lost my culture, as a people, like this might be some sort of search for that, like that within myself, to these, like my ancestors are calling for me to connect to the earth and reestablish that relationship. So yeah, that's what we do. We go spend a week, learn about their relationship with the land, plants, animals, and different cultural cliques that they are different things, kind of get out of our perspective and use that in order to kind of look at our own lives from a different perspective, and get I wouldn't say objective, because every, like, I think every perspective is kind of based from some standpoint. But yeah, that's part of what we do. Yeah, it's kind of like exploring ourselves and looking at our lives through different eyes. So and I guess as far as success goes, I mean, yeah, it's the starting any new business is a struggle. You have ups and downs, you doubts, fears, and you could define any failure as a failure. I mean, like a ton of motivational speakers will say this about any failure is just another step to success if you keep going and keep pushing. So yeah, I've had mine. I've got to pick up a second job. I've had to try to figure out financial situations where it's just everything in my life has changed in the last 2 years. So I think every day is kind of a different definition of success, but I guess the journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step. So it's just about kind of breaking that down. Breaking your day down and just doing it a step at a time and keep going, and people will catch on and it will happen. So I guess my definition of success is just doing, again, back to the first part, just doing what you love and doing that with passion. So that's how this business was started. It was like, what is the coolest thing I could do with my life? And I was like, well, travel around the world and visit indigenous cultures and show people beautiful places on our planet and get people connected to our planet. So that's what my thing's about.
That's amazing. And I love that definition of success. So one of the main questions we like to ask people on this show is around the idea, if you were sitting on a plane next to, let's call it a stranger, and they leaned over and said, hey, I'm just starting my journey. Do you got any advice for me? And so the question I would ask you is, what do you think you might say to that stranger? So in other words, what kind of life advice, based on what you've learned, do you think you might share with somebody?
It's kind of interesting you say like on a plane, because it's like my business is all about travel, and in the plane you're traveling, so you're either, I don't know, you're going home or you're going away, but say you're going away, and I would just say I feel like travel is a huge opportunity to look at your life from a different perspective, and you're getting out of your rut. You're getting out of what has kept you stuck or blocked. I mean, it's actually kind of it's a huge opportunity for that, because you don't have your day-to-day, this is what I do. This is, and your comfort levels, you're kind of forced out of your comfort level. You're kind of open to everything. Everything's new. And so I would say, just use those opportunities. And I think there's only a few things that do that, like travel, the seasons changing is one thing, and traumatic events like injury or illness, like those kind of like kick you out of where you are. And so I'd say from there you have opportunity to change. And and then back to my other things, just follow your joy. Like if you just keep doing that, then the successes and failures will come and go. And that's my piece of advice.
So now, interestingly, because you may view them as the same answer, so it may feel like I've asked you for life advice 3 times in a row, but I have this question that I've asked thousands of times that I call a time machine question. And it's as simple as it sounds, which is, if you could jump into a time machine and go back and talk to a younger Blake and give him some life advice, what do you think you might tell him? The reason I think this is different, Blake, is because the plane part you're telling a stranger, but what advice you probably needed when you were younger or at any point in your life. So if you could go into a time machine and go back and talk to another version of Blake, what do you think you might tell that Blake?
God, it's so interesting because I feel like my experiences are so integral to like who I am today, you know. So I wouldn't change what has I've gone through or what has happened. So I guess I would just tell him to just be yourself, unapologetically. And if you do that, then you'll be fine.
That's amazing.
And yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, and that's what I hated about, I think, high school and all that. That was the worst part, was the shame and the lack of confidence in self, you know, that you have to change who you are. Yeah. So
I love that.
yeah.
And so I guess then, Blake, as we bring things, I'll call it to a close for now. I'll call it to be continued. But as we bring things to a close, obviously I want to ask you a very important question, which is, how can people learn more about your business? Like, how can people, is there a website? Where would you send people if they say, hey, I'd love to go traveling, I'd love to learn more about other cultures or my own culture, or whatever that looks like? Where would you direct them?
Yeah. I go to sunnysideexpeditions.com, and there'll be actually, if you want a little bit more information, I just wrote a little ebook called How to Turn Your Vacation into a Life-Changing Experience. And it's just like a free ebook. It'll pop up when you go to the page. So go there, get on the email list, and that's where I would go. And then I've got a Facebook group called Sacred Tourism that you could join as well. Find me on Facebook, say hi, you know, that's it.
Amazing. Well, Blake, this has been an absolute pleasure. So, of course, thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, yeah, it was my pleasure. And so great to hear the journey that you're taking right now and the path you're taking. So I wish you all the success in the world. And of course, like I say, we'll call it a to be continued and wave the flag for all the great things you're doing. So thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you, Corey.